Does it work? Yeah, you're right. May I welcome you all? You have to excuse the glasses, they borrow because I've forgotten mine. So, may I welcome you all to this extraordinary meeting of the Council. First of all, could I really congratulate everyone who's got children who did their GCSEs, all their parents, all their schools and their teachers. And the ones I've seen have had some very good results. So I think any of you here who are parents at that stage, congratulations. Right, could I take this opportunity to remind everyone present that this meeting will be streamed on the Council's website and on Oldham Community Radio. Gentlemen, you may remove your jackets, and if everyone, gentlemen would remove their hats, I would appreciate that, if anyone finds it too warm. Right, and that includes members of the public, please. We sometimes have problems with security with hats. I'd like to remind members of some of the procedures in the Chamber to ensure we have a meeting which is conducted fairly, consistently and respectfully. When addressing me, whether you speak in a debate, move or second a motion or amendment, raise a point of order, raise a point of personal explanation, or address motion without notice, you should stand before you address me. You should stand before speaking where you are able to do so. I'm sorry, we've only got anyone who can't. If I know in advance who is moving or seconding an item, please wait for me to invite you to do this. We will, if there's more than one of you, we'll take a note of the names, and then I will call everybody in their turn. If I need to ask for movers and seconders, then please indicate by raising your hand, and I will invite you to either move or second as appropriate. If you wish to raise a point of order or a point of personal explanation, please first of all indicate by standing or raising your hand, and I will then invite you to speak. Thank you. Could I remind all members that points of order relate to procedure only or a breach of the law? And we will be told if it's a breach of the law. They do not relate to arguments or principles or political views put forward or the correctness or incorrectness of statements made in the debate. Points of personal explanation are when you wish to clarify an earlier speech you have made, or when you want to correct a statement, a view, or a motive attributed to you that you think is incorrect. That is simply, there is to correct the record and must not be used to continue the debate. My ruling on points of order and points of personal explanation is final and may not be discussed. And I ask that you respect this and sit down to ensure we maintain good order. Now turning to members of the public, I would ask that you note the public meeting protocol available on seats in the public gallery. Before we formally start the meeting, please can I take this opportunity to say a short prayer. We ask that this meeting be shared in understanding and generosity. We all wish to do the best for this town, and we will all hope to share in a favourable outcome. Amen. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillors Arnott, Choan, Hinz, Hughes, Curley, Ibrahim, Iqbal, Rustage, Sheldon and Shuttleworth. Are there any other apologies?
Mumtaz Ali.
Montaz
Montaz.
Yeah,
Mumtaz Ali.
and Montaz Ali. Right, no other...
Apologies.
Sorry?
Councillor Quick has another apology to declare.
Oh, please, what is it? Councillor, oh, thanks. Right. No one else? We're all here? Good. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from members in respect of matters to be considered by the council at this meeting? No. Right. Item 3 is the monitoring officer's report. I move that council resolves into committee in line with council procedure rule 12.4.4 bracket naught for this item to allow officers to address the meeting. Yes?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to second that proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Oldham. We'll move to a vote by a show of hands. Those in favour? Nobody counting? Those against? Any abstentions? That is carried. Can I invite Alex Bugatoff, Monitoring Officer, to address the Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, members. Hopefully now you've all had sufficient time to consider the report. This report is prepared under Section 5 of the Local Government and Housing Act 1989. This is a statutory duty placed upon the monitoring officer where it appears that an act, omission or continuing course of action may give rise to a contravention of the law or the Council's governance obligations. The report concerns the Council's continuing inability to elect a leader and establish a cabinet, despite the number of full meetings that we've had. As members will be aware, Oldham operates a leader and cabinet model of governance. The appointment of a leader is not optional. It is a statutory requirement. It is central to the operation of the Council's executive arrangements. Without a leader, the Council is acting unlawfully, and it cannot establish a cabinet, allocate executive portfolios, or discharge executive functions in the manner intended by legislation and this Council's constitution. The report also highlights that the Council is acting unlawfully in relation to its statutory governance responsibilities in relation to children care. The Children Act is clear. This Council needs a lead member for children. My conclusion is that the issue now raises a significant concern regarding the constitutional compliance of this Council, executive decision-making, accountability and governance effectiveness of this Council. I'm therefore bringing these governance concerns formally before the Council so that members can consider the report and take the necessary steps to restore lawful and effective governance arrangements. You're aware that we're acting in committee, so there will be opportunity to ask questions of me upon my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I invite Shelley Kipling, Chief Executive, to address the Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to address councillors briefly to outline the wider issues and risks that are facing the Council as a result of the ongoing lack of a leader and cabinet. I do want to start with the reassurance that day-to-day council services are able to continue running much as they did before. The Council set its budget earlier this year for the municipal year 2026-27, and is broadly operating within that budget framework to continue the delivery of services and to bring forward already agreed transformational work across the council. However, there remain a number of significant areas of concern, not least that the ongoing lack of leadership creates significant barriers to the effective governance of the council. While we have been able to stand up regulatory committees in terms of planning and licensing, the absence of an administration has meant that we are unable to stand up scrutiny committees so far for this municipal year. Scrutiny is a vital part of the democratic governance frameworks for local authorities, and the lack of functioning committees means that work by cross-party members to scrutinise, debate and challenge the decisions, policy and service performance of the local authority is not taking place. I also wish to speak to the impact and potential impacts on our regulatory and statutory services across the council. The Section 5 report of the Monitoring Officer outlines the legal position we find ourselves in, having been unable to appoint a lead member for children's services. Without a lead member, it is unlikely that we would be able to demonstrate the required governance arrangements that are expected by the Department for Education and inspectors. Should this affect the Council's current good rating for children's services, we could see a significant impact on workforce and on budgets that could take years to recover from. Similarly, a lead member for adults would hold a key role in ensuring the effective decision-making and oversight for adult social care and health services that many in our borough rely on. Their input into any CQC inspection would be expected and would form part of any judgment made on the performance of adult social care services. Alongside this, we have been unable to stand up our Health and Wellbeing Board, as we cannot nominate councillor representatives without a leader to make those nominations. That board holds a number of statutory functions for the borough with regards to local health services, including the acceptance of millions of pounds of vital grants. Alongside this, the council is currently working with the regulator of social housing as a result of an inspection they undertook in Oldham last year, and the regulator is overseeing an ongoing improvement plan. The regulator has already expressed to me their concern about the lack of a housing cabinet member or lead member, and they require significant reassurance about how that will impact the effective oversight of housing provision by elected members in the borough. There are similar challenges facing other statutory and regulatory services like SEND, skills, adult education, that will be impacted similarly by the lack of lead members and oversight. I also want to take a few moments to just talk about the impact of our lack of representation at the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. The leader of the council would normally represent the council and the borough on the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. The GMCA oversees the delivery of the Greater Manchester Strategy. It oversees regional transport, and it distributes resources that are devolved to it by central government on a wide range of policy and service areas. With more and more power and funding being delegated and distributed at a city region level, we remain at a distinct disadvantage without political representation at that combined authority. There are also a number of other GMCA committees and meetings that the council remains unrepresented on, leaving us unable to advocate and lobby for Oldham on key issues such as health, transport, waste disposal and culture. We have been informed that should the council remain unable to nominate representatives for the GMCA and other GM committees by September, the combined authority will look to reallocate those spaces to other authorities or to directly allocate places on party lines and work with the political parties to get those nominations. I also wanted to briefly talk about the interactions that we've had with MHCLG over the last few months. Since May, we've been in regular contact with the Ministry for Housing, Communities and Local Government to appraise them of the ongoing situation and its impact on the delivery of council services and on our financial stability. As a result of the lack of movement in electing a leader and the resulting concerns around governance, the Council has now been formally identified as an authority that requires additional oversight from MHCLG through their stewardship team. This is the team that provides early oversight prior to any possible intervention or support being required. And officers will be meeting with representatives from that stewardship team for the first time in the coming weeks. I do also want to say that while it's frustrating for everyone to remain without a leader, I should highlight the significant amount of time and effort put in from all group leaders and others in this chamber in seeking a solution to the problems we face. Since the annual council meeting, the Local Government Association have supported individual groups through their peer support programme to negotiate and to establish opportunities for discussion and joint working. Group leaders have met regularly, both with and without officers, to try and find a way forward. Those conversations have been helpful and professional and have, from my perspective, been entered into in good faith and with good intentions to find a solution. I'm hopeful that tonight we can find a way forward that reflects the immense amount of work that has gone on behind the scenes. I also want to take a little moment to talk about the meanwhile decision-making arrangements that we are currently using to keep council services running. At the moment, I'm using the emergency powers given to the Chief Executive, as outlined in the Constitution, to make urgent and essential decisions that the Council's Cabinet would normally make. And we also continue to use delegated powers to officers to make day-to-day decisions about service provision. Every fortnight, the leaders of all political groups meet with senior officers to review any decision that is due to be made by officers that has a value beyond £100,000 or is a key decision. All group leaders have engaged helpfully and positively in this process, and as a result, we have been able to make essential decisions on procurement and commissioning, on grant acceptances and the allocation of those grants, which are helping to keep council services running. However, I do need to be clear that these emergency officer powers were not intended to be used on an ongoing basis or for such a lengthy amount of time. As a result, should councillors not be able to find a solution tonight, we would work to quickly formalise these decision-making arrangements and would bring a report to the next meeting of full council to agree those processes for continued officer decision-making. However, I am urging all councillors in this chamber to act tonight. Only the election of a leader and the allocation of duties to cabinet members will fully enable us to mitigate the risks that this council currently faces. Should a resolution not be found tonight, we will commit to write to the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government within 5 working days to formally appraise them of the situation and to ask for any support that they can offer in the circumstances. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Shelley. I will now invite each of the group leaders to respond to the Monitoring Officer's report. Councillor Shaw?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the report tonight presented by the Monitoring Officer and then the update that we've had from the Chief Exec speaks to a really serious situation, and one that I don't think anyone in this chamber is comfortable with. The Monitoring Officer, in his introduction, has made really clear that the continued inability to select or appoint a leader and form an administration is creating significant governance, legal and, quite frankly, operational risks to the council. Acknowledging that up to this point, as the Chief Executive has said, that we have been working collectively to make key decisions in the group leaders meeting that happen once a fortnight. But to be quite honest, Madam Mayor, the reality weighs heavily on all of us who I think across this chamber care deeply about this borough. And I would go further by saying actually that having worked for a very long time with committed officers of this council who have helped deliver services to the communities that are so precious to us is profoundly distressing, I think, for all of us, but especially to me and my group, to see the council in this position. So when I stand today, although I'm addressing you as leader of the Labour group, I don't do that just as a representative. I'm doing it as a voice for the profound sorrow, the deep concern and the heartbreak that actually has gripped me and my group. We're heartbroken by this current uncertainty because this is not how it should be, and it certainly isn't what our residents deserve. But I also want to use this point to acknowledge that running the council isn't easy, and I think with the group leaders will also acknowledge this, that actually trying to manage sometimes unprecedented but challenging circumstances that local councils, not just in Oldham, so not just unique to Oldham, but across the country find themselves in, is really, really hard work. And I think under a Labour government, I believe, as leader of the Labour group, that we're finally seeing now some glimmers of hope. I think the fair funding formula, I think meaningful devolution presents itself an opportunity for Oldham. I also think that we now stand at a really pivotal point. We've got a once-in-a-generation opportunity to fundamentally transform local government. We've got a new Prime Minister who truly understands what local government and devolution is about. And we've got a Greater Manchester Mayor who herself has steered her council when she was leader of Manchester City Council through difficult challenges. And I do think those stars, the Prime Minister and the Greater Manchester Mayor, presents real opportunity for places like Oldham. I would also go further to say that since May, my group has acted with unwavering integrity. And we did, back in May, deeply reflect on the outcome of the election. And in that spirit of what I would refer to as democratic principle, we stood aside because we made clear that we would allow any other viable option to come forward, and we would not put forward a minority administration. I also think it's fair to say that we were compelled to do so because meetings we weren't able to reach a decision that was pragmatic. And what we're offering is not merely a proposal, not what went before us. We understand this isn't a grab for power. This is absolutely an opportunity to understand and reflect on what the electorate told us in May.
Move extension.
Thank you. To move and to relentlessly support.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. Sorry, we agreed 4 minutes per group leader. We've resolved into committee. Could you explain why moving an extension still applies when we're not in that section of the council meeting?
Apparently, Councillor Al-Hamdalmi, it doesn't apply, it does apply, but Councillor Shah had not quite finished, and I wanted to hear the end of what she had to say. Thank you.
I'll just end by saying this, Madam Mayor, because I don't want to frustrate people across the chamber. I'm acting in good faith. I've appealed to leaders in good faith. But there are two clear choices tonight. There's a clear administration proposal put forward by Labour. And I have to say, as much as whether I like it or not, there's a clear proposal put forward by Reform. It is for everybody else in this chamber to make a decision based on them two proposals, them two clear proposals that really clearly outline what they mean. And I appeal to everybody in this chamber, if you don't want to vote for Labour, fine, don't. But you have another proposal. Make a decision. Let's work jointly and let's steer the direction of this incredible place that I believe that we all call home. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Shaw. I invite Councillor Quigg to speak now.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I wasn't expecting the party political broadcast, but we'll cut through the noise and call this 6-page report what it is. It's a backstop. It's a legal backstop because we can't elect a leader. We can scaremonger about commissioners, we can scaremonger about the outcomes, we can scaremonger about what's going to happen tomorrow, but we just don't know. This is a complete unprecedented outcome across the whole of the UK, particularly English local government. What we face here is this backstop of officers having to make decisions. Services continue as they are. The budget, as it was passed in March, continues as is. And there is no leader, there is no cabinet. And basically the continuation of the council is basically without a cabinet, without a leader. That's it. As far as I'm aware, there's no hole in the finances. If anyone from finance here, just to confirm that, it would be helpful. No, so it's not best value duty that's been affected. It's not children's services. We've not got Ofsted in. What this is a fact that this council is being held hostage by the Alliance. The Alliance is made up of the Conservatives, the Liberal Democrats and the Oldham Group. This is your report. You should sign it because there is two viable options, two large groups who can effectively form an administration. Your intransigence throughout has caused this impasse. Own it. Own it, Sam. Own it, Cameron. Own it, Max. Because you've never turned up to half a dozen of these leaders' meetings, and we've got to this stage. Cameron, to your credit, you've turned up, but what you offer is very little and very thin, and you've not offered us anything as a group, except changing positions, offering things which are out of your control. I'll be fair to Councillor Woodvine. He did want to be mayor, and sadly, he didn't quite get it, so apologies there, Councillor Woodvine, but Councillor Byrne sits in your place. This is, for us, not ideal. As a group of 16 and 13 new members, it's new, it's challenging, it's difficult, and it's not what the people of Oldham wanted us to do. But let the message go out from me and my group tonight. We have two options on the table besides the leader tonight, and you can put your money where your mouths are, put up or shut up, because you can either listen to the people and we'll call it all out. Let them have it. Go back to the people. Put the courage of your convictions, stand up and say, well, we'll go to the electorate and ask them. And if you don't like it, Councillor Williamson, as part of your lottery, then let's see if you'll hold your seat in May. Because I'm absolutely confident that the people of Oldham will turn around and say to your group in particular, enough's enough of the games. You're a group of 6 now, not 16. I will absolutely, with pleasure, do that, Councillor Kenyon. But it's funny that you should perhaps be leading your group, because you've done all the negotiating. What have you got to offer? Enough's enough. Let's get to these amendments. Let's get to the vote, and let's see who's prepared to put the courage of the conviction, stand up, and go back to the people of this borough and solve this problem once and for all. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor Quigg. Can I call on Councillor Gafour?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I've got a lot to say, and I'm not going to get into a fight with Councillor Quigg, because this is quite a serious report. It is a formal warning from our monitoring officer that the continued failure to appoint a leader and lead member for Children's Services has created an unlawful and unsustainable situation. The consequences are real, regardless of what Councillor Quigg says. We are at risk of an intervention. Key decisions are being taken through emergency officer arrangements, and residents are being denied clear democratic leadership and accountability. Political disagreement is part of democracy, Councillor Quigg, but it must lead with decisions. We cannot allow a deadlock to become the way this council operates. Our children's services need political leadership. Our officers need clear direction. Our residents need to know who is responsible for decisions made in their name. So we must be honest about this political reality. The Oldham Group cannot support a return to the Labour administration simply to preserve the status quo. Hold on, I'm getting to you in a minute. The May election changed the political landscape, and we do not believe the previous administration can simply continue without a fresh democratic mandate within this chamber. Equally, Councillor Quigg, we cannot support reform simply on the basis that you won the most seats. This council has no overall majority, and no single group has an automatic right to govern this without wider support, and you do not have that support. So if no group can govern alone, we must consider another way forward. That is why we are proposing a power-sharing arrangement, a politically balanced administration with roles allocated on a pro rata basis, reflecting the strength of the different groups in this council. That's every single one of you. This would ensure no single party dominates and that the political makeup of this council is properly reflected in how it is governed. It would require compromise. It would require cooperation. But that is what this situation demands. The alternative is a continued deadlock. And the Section 5 report makes clear that we cannot afford that. The Oldham Group is ready to engage constructively with others to make this work. We are not asking anyone to abandon their principles. We really are not. But we are asking all groups to recognise the seriousness of this situation. If we continue as we are, we risk further intervention, instability, and loss of public confidence. And ultimately, it's the residents of Oldham who will suffer. So I ask all members this evening, let us put our party advantages to one side. Let us agree a fair, politically balanced arrangement. Let us appoint a leader and let us restore lawful, accountable and effective governance to this council. We will not support an administration simply because it is Labour. We will also not support an administration simply because it is Reform. We will support a solution that delivers stability, fairness and good governance for Oldham. That is what our residents have elected us to do. They did not elect us to remain in this deadlock. They elected us to lead. We are all leaders in this chamber. So let us show them tonight that we are capable of doing exactly that. Let us compromise, like the Oldham Group has been doing from the outset. Let us agree a balanced power sharing arrangement. And this, Councillor Shah and Councillor Quigg, is the other alternative that we have this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Gafoor. Can I ask Councillor Al-Hamdani to speak, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I came and joined this council just under 8 years ago, and it was a very different environment to the one it is now. It still wasn't always a great environment. There's been, I would say, both inside and outside the council, bullying, abusive behaviour, hostility that was unwarranted, unfair aggression, and overall an approach which has seen politics in Oldham deteriorate to the point at which it is now, Madam Mayor, where we are in this deadlock. And I don't blame any individual for the situation where we are, and I understand why people would argue the way that they are doing for the things that they want to achieve. You know, you don't stand for politics to let somebody else win. You think what you're doing is right, and you try and do that because you think it's the best for where you are. But we've deteriorated so much over these few years by people refusing to listen, people only accepting their view as the correct one. I don't know what the correct place is to be. This isn't, I'm not making these decisions out of some certainty that everybody else here is an idiot and can't just see the obvious truth. And I'm sure that lots of other people would say that's what they're doing. But if we carry on the same route of just saying smaller and smaller minority administrations and not cooperating with each other, then this is only going to get worse, and it's bad enough as it is. So the only way to change that is to break that way of working. And that means not doing the same thing again. The definition of madness. Let's not carry on doing that. Let's do something different. Let's actually try and find a constructive way to work together, because that is the only way that politics in Oldham is going to change. So whoever you decide for, that's your choice. But let's try and make everybody work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Al-Hamdani. Can I invite Councillor Sharp to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I would just like to remind Councillor Quigg that the Conservative group is the only group in the chamber that have supported reforms proposals consistently. So before you go calling us out, please just remember that. When I read this report, there are a number of things that concern me. The governance consequences, the legal implications and the risk to the council's reputation. But the thing I kept coming back to was the impact on Oldham residents. Because whatever view you may take about how we got here, this report exists because this council has been unable to do something that should be fundamental, appoint a leader and a cabinet. And what concerns me most is the impact this is already having and the further consequences if we fail to resolve it. Whether it's additional audit costs, officer time, legal advice or the potential cost of intervention, none of it's free. Every pound spent dealing with this situation is a pound that can be spent on services for Oldham residents. And I think residents should be entitled to ask why. Since May, we've spent a lot of time discussing leadership, governance, numbers and political positions. But residents look at it through a different lens. They simply expect their council to work. They expect decisions to be made and they expect services to be delivered. And they expect us, as elected councillors, to find a way through political differences. There are councils across the country with no overall control. Different parties, different priorities and different views. But they recognise that disagreement is part of politics. What they don't accept is paralysis. Because residents don't stop needing services just because us politicians can't agree. This report sets out that the situation creates risks for the council and the borough, and this is why I find it so frustrating. The Conservative group has voted for options that would help break this deadlock. Not because every option was perfect, not because it was politically advantageous, but because doing nothing comes at a cost. And that cost is not being paid by us, it's being paid by the residents who elected us. We all know Oldham needs change, nobody in this council chamber can pretend otherwise, but residents voted for change because they wanted things to improve. They didn't vote for higher costs, they didn't vote for stagnation, and they certainly didn't vote to spend the next 9 months watching political parties put positions and egos ahead of practical outcomes. We can't simply write off the next month and wait 9 months and wait for another election. For the people we represent, those 9 months matter just as much as any other. At the end of the day, residents don't care who wins the argument. They care whether their council works. And for me, this is what this report comes down to. We have another opportunity tonight to elect a leader and move this council forward. I sincerely hope that when Oldham residents wake up tomorrow morning, the headline isn't that we failed once again. I hope it's that councillors, whatever their political differences, finally put the borough before themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Does any other member wish to speak on this report? Yes. Councillor Williams, yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the reason we're in this position at the moment is the electorate told us they didn't like what they were seeing. For the last couple of years, this council has been toxic. There's been people saying stuff to other people in this chamber that should not have been allowed, but it went on. And those people are sitting in this chamber telling us to support them so that we can be the administration. Well, I'm telling you now, you will not change your behaviour, and why should we support you, either of you? And I'm talking about Labour and Reform, because you both come out with some rubbish, absolute rubbish, that we should support you so we can make you the administration. That's not what we're here for. We might be a small group, but that doesn't really matter to us. We are trying because we want to give Oldham a chance. At the moment, it's got no chance because we're going down the route of having an administration that nobody really voted for in May. They didn't give us an overall majority. They gave us different groups, smaller groups, bigger groups. But that's the reason why we're here, is because people didn't like what was going on in Oldham, in this chamber. And I hate it. I've been on this council for nearly 20 years, and this is the worst it's ever been. And it's the leadership of this council that's done it to Oldham and to the other people in Oldham who are not councillors. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any other members wish to speak? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So it wasn't my intention to speak, but I do think that if people are going to speak up in the chamber, now is a real time to show integrity and honesty. So apportioning blame in the way that you have just done, Councillor Williamson, is exactly why we are in the position that we are in. And I would remind this chamber that for a long time, abuse that was directed at the leader seemed to be perfectly passable, perfectly okay, perfectly acceptable. And it is only now that we don't have a working solution because of the toxicity that people suddenly now have a different view because it no longer suits anybody's agenda. I remember quite distinctly that Councillor Shah brought forward a number of years ago now a mission to put politics before personality. And that was something that we then highlighted. And we were very clear at that time that this was going down a one-way street that was not going to work for this chamber. It was not going to work for our residents. And it is certainly not going to work for the council. And now that we're here, what I think is absolutely fundamentally important, and I would genuinely, in all openness and honesty, ask people to not start apportioning blame because we do have a collective responsibility. And if this is the level of the debate that we can expect at the start of this meeting, of course we are heading to a decision at the end where we will not wake up tomorrow with the news that the council has a working administration. So I would ask members to be respectful. You can have debate without disrespect. We have always shown respect to people. We would ask at this meeting, given the seriousness of this meeting, that moving forward, the very least that I think we can do is debate in a respectful manner. Apportioning blame is not helpful. It is not a way forward. And what I would say is there are amendments before us, and I go back to the point that has now been made multiple times. There is a decision to be made in this chamber this evening, and people have an option to vote for something that leads to an outcome. So please make your decision carefully, think it through, and do not try to find get-outs. Do not try to find reasons why somebody is to blame, because we are very clear as a Labour group, this is a collective responsibility. And actually, if we do not come together to find a collective way through this, there is no way through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Chauhan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was trying to stay quiet, but couldn't help myself. Councillor Quigg looks a bit surprised. Madam Mayor, it's amazing that we heard amazing speeches from everyone. Everyone talking about cooperation. Everyone talking about building bridges, finding the solutions. But very quickly, we moved back to the past. It took us only, 25 minutes? And I'm already feeling, why am I wasting my time in this meeting? It's a perfectly recessed time. I could have been at home with my children, enjoying life, rather than sitting here and just going back over and over and over and over against the same thing. Well, okay, fine. You don't like Labour, no disrespect, that's politics. Of course, don't like it. Vote for reform. You don't like reform? Find the third one. Well, you cannot just constantly, all of us, keep doing the same thing. I think we have to also respect the public mandate given. Yeah, Labour still got the mandate on whatever seats we have. Reform been voted in. We should respect public opinion. My colleagues from other groups been voted in. But I think we have to exercise the option. Okay, fine, if you hate me most, fine, vote for the second less hatred, the third less hatred. We need to come to conclusion sometime, somewhere, somehow. I will please urge all of us that let's stay away from personality politics. Let's focus on solution. If we can find solution, that's fine. If we can't find solution, let's not waste time. Do what we always did. Just vote in, out, in, out, in, out, and get out of this place. And let's not call another meeting. Am I allowed to ask you a question? Monitoring officer / chief executive. Yes, sorry. I still have to ask permission, sorry. I'm just wondering, do we have any financial impact analysis of all this so far
in terms of, I'm sure you will be seeking legal advice, everything. So I'm sure public of Oldham would like to know how much our actions have costed us so far. And can you confirm on record that there's no damage is being done, apart from obviously governance risk and not having transparency in terms of decision making? When I say, obviously public can't watch the cabinet meetings anymore to see what decisions been approved. But is there factually, is there any harm being done? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. John. Would you like to reply?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that's a really good question, Councillor Joanne. I think we will know the costs. We haven't yet done that work to calculate the total costs of the additional meetings, officer time, the work that has gone into the workarounds, the mitigation, the horizon scanning that's required to try and avoid some of the risks that we are facing as a council. That's the answer to your first one, and happy to do that work if members feel that would be helpful. In answer to the second part of your question, currently we have been able to make the decisions that are needed to keep essential services running and to meet our obligations around commissioning, procurement, to make sure that there are providers for some of those vital services that continue. However, in lots of ways, we are able to manage what is known. The difficulties, the risks, the challenges come with the unknown. So whether that is a visit from a regulator or inspector, a major challenge that would require a leader's intervention, there are some of those that we can and have planned and mapped, and we are working to mitigate, but there are things that we do not know. That may come down the track and we may not be able to find a governance workaround for. So at the moment, the answer is there is no risk of, outside of the clear legal, reputational and service risks, potential risks that are highlighted within that report and within what I've already said. It is more the future risk that will face council services.
Thank you. As Mayor, I would like to add my view. We are not in the past, as Councillor Taylor says. We are in the here and now, and more importantly, we are here in the future. I was once described in the other chamber as a leader of the Liberal group, and I, as Conservative, as the utter pragmatist. And I am still that, because I believe that we have to be pragmatic. We have these barriers politically. How we get through those, I don't know. But we all want the same thing. We all want this council to be run properly, as our voters expected us to. I've had people, well, not just here, but in Greater Manchester, asking me what we are going to do. And I say, I don't know, because we're held by some politics. Now, being a pragmatist, I ask you how you can look to be pragmatic to resolve this situation. As Mayor, go round the borough and Greater Manchester to try and resolve this and become respected. Thank you. Right, sorry, does any other member wish to speak to this report? Councillor Gill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I will echo, obviously, I've worked with Councillor Byrne for many years in Saddleworth North, and we've always worked cooperatively where we can. When we agree, we work together. When we don't agree, we go ahead and do what we do. But it's been that mutual respect. So I think where I would stand is, so obviously in recent years we've made no bones about the fact that we've not agreed with the direction and some of the approaches taken by the previous administration, and we have got certain things and certain policies which we think a change in direction needs to happen. What I would have liked to have seen is obviously the two main groups, the two big groups in this council chamber want to form an administration, and they need some support from others to get over the line. What I would have liked to have seen is, in some cases, there's been a bit of aggression, but quite often I haven't seen much of a case of, right, well, what is important to your group? What could we do to perhaps help you get over the line? I'm not talking about committee places or anything like that, because that's not matters. It's actual tangible things like for my ward or for Saddleworth or for other things in terms of how the town centre plans and things like that. Is there anything that could be, any compromises or any changes that could be made, so anything that could be put in place to make us think, well, actually, we can sort of either abstain or support that. But I think this sort of like approach of where people are saying put up or shut up, or and how it's our, you know, where it's our highway, our way or the highway sort of thing, and you've got to make a decision, Labour or Reform. And I think, well, actually, you've got to give some reasons like why we're going to vote for either of those, because politically, obviously, I'm miles apart nationally from Reform. Obviously, probably slightly closer generally with Labour nationally, but locally I've got some concerns over stuff which has happened recently. So therefore, I would need a lot of persuasion on that. And I don't think we've had that. We've got, and you see the reports tonight of the amendments and stuff. There's nothing in there. I've not had any feedback on terms of those sort of things. So I suppose the question is, as well, going forward is, the Chief Executive mentioned about the stewardship process, and that was the next stage. So I wondered if you might be able to just, if you can, I mean, it might be a new thing and you can't, but what happens with that? How long is that going to go on for? Who will they see? Will it just be officers? Will it be officers and group leaders? And maybe some options that if we don't get a leadership tonight, perhaps some of those discussions could be placed of, actually we go to some group and say, well, what could we do to make sure that you could help us get over the line to form some form of administration or stewardship. Obviously, we've got proposal as well, which is as near as you can to a committee system, which obviously my colleagues will talk about later, but that is another one where that would be sharing the responsibility and everybody has a say and everyone's involved in that process. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harkness. Thank you. Would you care to come in to respond to Councillor Harkness?
I will, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the question. We have been in really regular contact with MHCLG colleagues and civil servants to let them know about the situation since annual council. They have been really interested in that ongoing impact on governance, but actually on our finances and on the kind of effective running of council services day to day. It is only recently that they have felt fit to escalate the oversight that they give to that stewardship team. And as I said, that is the team that works with councils to provide a little bit of extra oversight, more eyes on, almost in anticipation of a requirement for intervention or greater, more formalised support. That process was initiated in the last 2 weeks, and we're expecting a first meeting with that team in the next 2 weeks. So as yet, I cannot answer the question as to whether elected members can be part of that process, are expected to be part of that process. But what I will commit to is that as soon as I have had that introductory meeting with civil servants, I will share that and I will ask the question within that meeting so I can get you a clear answer.
Thank you. You wish to speak?
I do, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, fellow survivors of the strong leader experiment. Remember when local councils were committees where people actually communicated across political divides and discussed options and their various perspectives. Indeed, they argue and then always compromised because a decision had to be made. And they got something done that was amicable for everybody, particularly the people of the town. And do you remember when councils were hard of communication between elected members, as we are in this chamber, the officers and the departments and the service providers? Communication actually got things done, all seeking to make the town better, a better place to live, and most crucially, with the full support of the electorate. Unfortunately, Labour did not like many of these concepts. They don't like compromise. They don't like viewing the world from different perspectives. They certainly don't like listening to the electorate. But most of all, they don't like communication between anyone other than through their own gatekeepers who control what and who is allowed to speak to each other. Labour fixed all that in 1994, in the lead up to the general election of 1997, with the strong leader model. I prefer to call it the dear leader model because it is a totalitarian dictatorship. One person, all the power, cabinet membership, an optional illusion of delegation, scrutiny, nothing more than decorative cherry on the top of a totalitarian cake. Created by the Blair government to wrestle power from the trade unions, adapted to serve as the premier model of governance for Labour-controlled councils, Jim McMahon loved it so much that he practically copyrighted it. And the results? Spectacular. Look at this tonight. Take Croydon. Using the strong leader model, the council built an empire of risky property deals, ignored all the warning lights and went bust. Section 114 notices flying like confetti, an inner circle so tight you needed a password and a blood oath to ask a question. Billions of pounds later, residents got the bill and increased council tax. The strong leader model is all about PR promotion and headlines featuring the dear leader. Then there's Birmingham, still paying after the 20%
excuse me, can you stick to what we're discussing for Oldham tonight instead of other authorities? I think we all know what happens there.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
And now there's Oldham, ground zero for the Jim McMahon strong leader gospel. After Jim came, a revolving door of strong leaders with Sean the boy, Amanda Chatterton, and now Arood Shah. And Arood Shah will lose a seat next year to Councillor Gafoor. And where will she go? Like all the rest, Sean went to Bolton Council Chamber. Arood will probably go down to London and sit on some red benches. The strong leader model is the reason that we are here tonight. This is the reason that we're here tonight. It is flawed. It's inherently flawed. Once you get to a situation where there is no majority, it is flawed and it falls apart like this. The people and the voters of Oldham, I say this, your council is broken and it's dysfunctional. Your elected members sitting in this chamber are fighting a constant battle to even locate the person responsible for the mess that you just reported to them. There is no accountability, responsibility, and it's simply ignored. We've got First Choice Homes, that is a law unto itself. In fact, we've employed half of their staff at our executive level.
Can we stick to...
So we should now stop talking about individual personalities. We appreciate that our group leader is not the cuddliest teddy in the box, but he is our group leader. And when all's said and done, we ask you for a mandate to govern as a minority. The reason given by a member of this group why they would not support the reform group.
I must stop you now. You've had your
right.
Thank you.
I'll get another one in a minute.
Councillor Akhtar, you wish to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Similar to other members in the chamber, I had no intentions of speaking tonight, but listening to some of the people, I couldn't sort of just let it go past. I think a lot of people said, let's forget the past. Personally, I think we shouldn't forget the past. And what we should be doing is learning from the past and moving forward. The past should be used to learn from the mistakes that we made, and let's not make them again. And we can only do that if we all are honest to each other. And we've all made mistakes, and I'll put myself first there. The toxic behaviour that's gone on within this chamber and by members out there, it's not acceptable, and we've all allowed that. And again, I'll say that includes myself as well, because we've not challenged it strongly enough, and we should have done that. And that is why we're actually here in this particular situation, because people out there didn't want to accept that. And what they don't want is any particular political group in charge of this chamber. And that's quite clear from the voting that's taken place in May. Otherwise, one particular group would have been in charge. And what the people out there want us to do is work together. And that is what we need to do in this particular chamber. And we can only do that, like I said, by being honest to each other and sharing that responsibility right across all different political groups and independents. Whether we sort it out tonight or have a break and sit down and say, okay, if we don't like what's in front of us tonight, how can we move forward? And that is the only way we can actually take this borough forward. And we all have a huge responsibility upon us, because people out there have actually elected us. They've elected us to lead this town. And if we're unable to do so, then I'm sorry, but we shouldn't be in this position. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Akhtar. Right, I've got you down. Councillor Murphy, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can't think of a single reason to support Labour. It didn't work out well for the Shaw and Crompton independents. It didn't work out well for the Failsworth independents. And to be honest, you've run the town into the ground. Some of the previous options and attempts to get us through this mess that we're in, I genuinely feel like a vegetarian being forced to eat a meat dish. Which leaves Reform UK. I could see us working together, but you don't want that. You've said you won't work with us or any group in the lead up to the election, and you've said it since. What you want, as you sit there with the body language of a spoilt child, is you just want us to vote for you. And you've not given us a reason. You just think...
Councillor Murphy, please, no personal...
All right, apologies. I didn't mean to. Yeah, you had an impressive set of election results. We can't deny that.
Madam Mayor,
but you didn't get a mandate.
We have... Councillor Murphy, we've got...
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I feel like we're at the point in this debate where the contributions are becoming very unhelpful. And I feel like we are borderline on the position of breaking the code of conduct as members. And so I'd propose a closure motion for this item so that we can move it on to the next items of business.
Sorry, who seconded that? Oh, thank you, Dr. John. Can we move to the vote on that then, please?
Is a committee apparently? Huh? You can be here all night if you want to carry on being called cuddly.
Could I ask everybody, we are voting on the closure motion.
Done it.
So if we... we have. Voting is open for anyone who hasn't voted. Yes? Is that everybody who's here? 49, 48. Hmm? Just 48. Right. Right. Does the council agree to receive the report and note the monitoring officer's opinion? We will do a vote by a show of hands. Right, item 4 is leader of the council. It's the election of the leader of the council, and we have received 7 amendments for this item. Could I propose that we suspend Council Procedure Rule 13.2 so that we consider Councillor Hoban and Councillor Naveley's amendment first? We will then take the others in the order that they were received. Councillor Guffaw?
I'll second that, yeah.
Thank you. We will do a vote by a show of hands. That is for taking this one first. Is that lost? Can we take those against, please? Abstentions? That is carried. We will now deal with Amendment 7. Could I invite Councillor Brian Hoban to move and Councillor Lisa Navesis to second Amendment 7? Councillor Hoban will speak and will... I can't see it. Can you speak, please? I can't.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I move this amendment, I was made aware that there was an error on my sending the amendment in, and I would like to ask the Council to consider suspending Rule 13.3 so I can amend my amendment. And start off some laughing by saying I'd like to change it to include the action for myself to be considered as leader.
Yeah, second, Madam Mayor.
We'll do a vote on suspending this procedure rule by show of hands.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. Well, it might well be for someone who's just said that, but just to make a point of order, the amendments received from the majority of people were complete. It was raised at group leaders whether this was incomplete or not. Can I confirm why at this stage we're having to amend an amendment when, you know, I'm not being funny, it should have been done before it comes to the chamber?
Madam Mayor, can I respond to that? I can tell Lewis directly.
Perhaps you care to explain.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, Lewis, my intention was to put this amendment in late to prove that there'd been no, as you would say, dealings behind back doors or dodgy dealings. But unfortunately, at the time that I put it in, I was with my daughter and I had to put it on my phone. And I missed the 2 major parts of the action and what I wanted the conclusion to be of this amendment. So I didn't realise that until I got a phone call after the 12 o'clock deadline, after you had discussed it as leaders. And as soon as I found out, I did speak to Alex to see if I could amend it then. But I was told the only way I could amend it would be to ask the council members permission to amend it while we was here tonight. Is that clear? Did I explain that enough? Is that clear?
Councillor Quaig? Yes, it's quite in order. That's all right. Thank you, Councillor Quigg. I'll say it. We will now do a vote on suspending this procedure rule by show of hands. Those in favour? Those against? Those in... We've not counted hands on those in favour. We start again. Those in favour? Those against, please. Hi. Right. Any abstention? Right. Councillor Hoban can amend his amendment. Right. Councillor Hoban, do you wish to speak on your amendment?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Thank you, members, for that. Foresight on my part, but I do appreciate you giving me the time to speak, and thank you, Madam Mayor. My intentions with this amendment was for it to be at the end of the evening, as a kind of a motion of last resort, really, to help us get across a line. Because I know we have a procedure in place, but I think we need to, as everybody has said when they've been speaking tonight, to work together with this. And I think it was an idea of mine, so I'm going to put it forward, because we've all been elected to serve our residents and to do the best we can for them right across the borough. And I don't think that's happening at the moment. Instead, we've got petty politics and personal grievances that are getting in the way. Not by everybody, I must say, because there's some of us with grievances that have crossed bridges in the last few months. But it's childish behaviour, in my opinion, and the message that it sends out to our residents and further is not a good one for this council. So the proposal, I was thinking, would be pragmatic and logical. We need an administration with experience, probably just a caretaker administration, until hopefully next May gives somebody a clear mandate to govern. But we also need a robust and challenging opposition. And I'm going to kind of do this in reverse. There's no doubt that Reform had an outstanding result in May. And there's no doubt that 37% of the electorate wanted them to take over. But with 13 brand new councillors and with the running of a council, are they really ready for administration? Even if, as Lewis says, he's got a fantastic bunch of very knowledgeable people. But I think at this moment in time, Reform would do a very, very good job as an official opposition, gaining experience into the workings of the council, and as an opposition, having control of scrutiny against the administration. Because I've always thought it strange that an administration can control their own scrutiny. So if this proposal went forward, then a robust and challenging opposition with the powers over scrutiny would be part of that. The administration that I was thinking would be formed of the remaining two main groups, working together, with roles split evenly across the cabinet, with a deputy leader from each side. You know, in the middle of this, and it's not something that I've ever aspired to, but in the middle of all this, as an independent, with no party dogma to follow, and no ideology, and no allegiance, no matter what anybody says, to any political group, I think we could run a decent administration. We'd have a structure and stability, a strong opposition, and be able to move forward, all working to providing ourselves with the public knowledge ready for the election in May. We could show that we are now adults in this chamber and capable of working together for the residents of the borough, which is the very reason we're here. Of course, debates will go on, but respectfully. We owe this to our residents to remove the petty bickering and childish behaviour. I'm not playing with him and I'm not playing with them. Sometimes you've got to put your big boy or girl pants on and get on with it. Sometimes you've got to hold your nose and go with something you may not like. But we need to think of the residents, forget personalities and do the job that we've been sent here for. Let's make the borough a great place to live, work and invest and not behave like a box of mad frogs to the outside world. I ask you to vote for this.
Thank you, Councillor Hubin. Councillor Navesey, do you wish to second the amendment?
Yes, second, Madam Mayor.
Does any member wish to speak?
Just a point of clarification, are you electing a leader?
Yeah, myself.
Any other member wish to speak? No? Right. I'm sorry, you wish to speak again?
Yeah, after the clarification. Once you elect a leader, as I mentioned earlier, under the Dear Leader scheme, they get all the power, all of it. They then are permitted under our constitution to elect all the cabinet positions, all of them. They are allowed to dismiss the cabinet positions, all of them. That is not acceptable to myself, or my group, or the rest of this chamber, I would think.
Right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, just to the councillor's points there. This is not kind of power grab or anything like that. This is just trying to solve the situation that we have here. I have no intention of lording it around anybody. The intention of a cabinet would be for the other parties to determine who sits in that cabinet and to determine the administration.
Thank you. Yes.
Point of clarification there. It doesn't matter whether you don't intend to lord it or not. You get all executive powers under our constitution. That is not acceptable.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. Sorry. I didn't want to interrupt the point, and that was fair enough. But in terms of the debating rules, you're not supposed to keep on coming in with multiple points. So I would appreciate it if it could be just kept in order. Thank you.
We'll now move to the vote on Amendment 7. We can have electronic voting on this. Thank you. Yeah. Voting is closed. The amendment is lost. We now move on to Amendment 1. Could I invite Councillor Arushar to propose and Councillor Taylor to second that Councillor Arushar be appointed as leader of the council and the Labour group to form a minority administration? Councillor Shah?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the proposal that's set out in front of us, Madam Mayor, is not about pretending the election delivered a result that it did not. It did not produce a majority for Labour. It did not produce a majority for any other group either. Our proposal is simply reflecting the reality of the election result and the maths and the formula of this council. It is a practical, workable and stable arrangement that can provide leadership while recognising the need to work constructively with others. What we are offering tonight is not simply a change in who occupies positions on the council. It's a practical and responsible framework for the governing in circumstances that this council finds itself in. We recognise that no party has secured a majority, we recognise the need for stability, and we recognise the need to rebuild trust and confidence across this council chamber as well as across our communities. And that is why our offer is based on 5 clear commitments. Firstly, a Labour minority administration which will implement the medium-term financial strategy that has already been agreed by this council. We will provide continuity and financial certainty at a time when residents and services need stability and not disruption. Second, we will not undertake any new borrowings to fund council services. We know the financial challenges facing local government and we are committed to managing the council's finances responsibly, making decisions that protect both today's services and tomorrow's taxpayers. Thirdly, we will not initiate any new major projects. This is not a proposal for a programme of new initiatives or ambitious expansion. It is a proposal focused on sound administration, maintaining service delivery and ensuring the Council remains focused on its core responsibilities during this period. Fourth, we will strengthen accountability and openness by offering the positions of Scrutiny Board chairs to opposition groups. We want all members and all our residents to have confidence that the Council decisions are being properly challenged and examined. And fifth, we will retain the Leaders' Council as a formal mechanism for cross-party engagement. We want transparency, and we know others in this chamber have articulated that they do too. We want collaboration, and we want meaningful involvement from across this council chamber on matters of strategic importance to our borough. The challenges facing Oldham are too significant for any one group to address them alone. The Leaders' Council will ensure that dialogue, engagement and joint working remain at the heart of how we govern. Taken together, these commitments demonstrate exactly the kind of administration we are proposing. One that is stable, one that's responsible and one that's accountable. One that recognises the outcome of the election, one that respects the role of opposition members and one that is committed to working across party lines in the interests of the people of Oldham. That experience is what we bring. Under our leadership, we made some of the successes that I outlined earlier, and for the interest in time, I'm not going to go through them again. But let me be really clear. This is not an offer to simply carry on as things were before. We've listened, we've reflected to people in this chamber and across Oldham. It's an offer that's rooted in humility. We've heard the message that has been sent to us by voters, and we recognise that no group in this chamber can act alone. And we recognise that the future success of Oldham depends on leaders being willing to work together, to listen to one another and jointly shape the direction of our borough. That is why we are committed to engaging constructively with leaders from across this council chamber. We want partnership where partnership they feel is possible. We want collaboration where they feel that collaboration will deliver results. And we want decisions that put Oldham first. So tonight, the choice before members is clear. This is Labour's proposals. This is what we're asking for. And we're also asking, in addition to this, for members across this chamber to reset what has gone before, and let's work together collectively for the interests of the people who live here and rely on us massively. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Councillor Taylor, to second.
Second, Madam Mayor, and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Sorry, does any other member wish to speak? No?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Taylor, do you wish to say anything? No, thank you. The time is up. I'm afraid that amendment is lost, so we move on to Amendment 2. We now deal with Amendment 2 for Councillor Quigg to be Leader of the Council. Could I invite Councillor Lewis Quigg to move and Councillor Paul Robinson to second Amendment 2?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I will set out what we've set out for the past 3 months, ad infinitum, across many meetings, but let me just start by answering a few points that was raised before. We keep being told we've got no experience. We keep being told we should sit in opposition. We keep being told we're just not good enough. That's the answer you're giving the electorate. Not me, not my councillors. That's what you're telling the electorate, Councillor Murphy, that they're just not good enough because they elected Reform UK councillors. And in doing that, I think that's an insult. And that's why they elected us, because they're sick of the politics that's gone before. People want change, and they delivered change. I was the only council group leader in this room who stood on the manifesto that there should be no coalitions, no backroom deals, no secret agreements. We've seen where that gets us, which is why the Labour administration fell. Not because of internal shenanigans, but because the people of this borough had had enough. So what we are offering is sweeping change to fix the basic services that the people of this borough ask us daily to fix. Highways, environment, children's services, adult social care, the stuff that people use and matters incredibly to them as residents who pay taxes in this borough. It's not fancy, it's not sexy, it's nothing out of the ordinary, but what they want is competence, efficiency, and those services to be delivered. Basics. We're not offering to change the wheel, we're offering to fix a broken wheel and a broken cart because the wagon is kaput. We would have to rebuild services from rock bottom up to deliver them for the residents of this borough. Yes, we will have to make savings and efficiencies, but we are having those conversations. We have had those conversations, and we continue to have those conversations in order to formulate policy that can be delivered. Not policy on the hoof, not policy that hasn't even reached officers for costings. We have done that. We have asked for that, and members of my group continue to ask for that. But what we are faced with now tonight is a dilemma of who wants to be leader via lottery, via the system we've got, or via a rotation, who wants to be leader for a week or two. We're offering the clear solution to the problem, which is that we can deliver a minority administration without having to do a coalition. We are offering to fix the basics that you have rightly complained about in opposition for years. So give us the opportunity, work with us. We're not afraid with working with you. It just seems you just don't want to work with us because either I think in some cases it's just outright snobbery and in other cases I just think it's outright political convenience. The people of this borough have had enough, and we can wait till next May to see what the outcome is, but I just don't think it's going to be in the favour of those who sit here tonight and place Mother Teresa when in fact they are nothing more than the devil in disguise. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor Quaig. Councillor Robinson.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to second that amendment. Thank you very much.
Does any member wish to speak?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I'd like to echo the comments that my leader made there. We've had lots of people telling us that we're not experienced enough, we're not competent enough, etc., etc., etc. And one particular sticks in my mind came from the Oldham group. I don't know if you know, but I've got a master's degree in chemistry. I've also got a master's degree in business administration, public sector. I am a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development. I'm a graduate of the Institute of Fire Engineers. I used to be your commander of Oldham Fire Service. I was responsible for 750 personnel. I used to manage a budget of millions. And the person that told me that I wasn't competent was a busy bee bus driver. I'm sorry, but that is not good enough reason not to support the most talented group of individuals that this council chamber has ever seen. And I say that as a senior manager of Greater Manchester Fire Service. This lot are absolutely a star.
Thank you.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. Point of order. Can I just say, even if someone is a bus driver, that is a very good job, a very decent job, and not something just to be called out just because you might have 3 masters.
Yeah. Yeah. That is not a point of order. Sorry about that. But you said it. The Kenyan wishes to speak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've been elected. I represent Groton, Springhead and Lees. I'm not here as a Liberal Democrat. Groton, Springhead and Lees, then Oldham, then the Lib Dems. Lewis, Madam Mayor, Lewis, we've spoken many times, and we've put our wish list online, and it's 10 or 11 proposals, and they're concrete things. And I've said to you many times, I've said, if you come back with some idea of delivery on this, then it would be hard pushed not to support it, or at least abstain to allow you to go ahead. We disagree on the national policy stuff, but this is local. This is about Oldham stuff, and these are very constitutional change, some commitment on CSE outcomes, significant changes in the way district spendings are allocated, task and finish of capital spending, a new police station with a custody suite, withdrawing council support for Eton Star at Tommyfield, hospital parking, review of the Bill Valley and Broadbent Moss to better support community concerns. All this stuff, it's not Lib Dem, it's not Labour, it's not Reform, it's not the Oldham Group. It's just stuff that our residents are quite rightly concerned about, and it's stuff that I really want to deliver to my ward. You could have had my vote if you just rocked up. We said, yeah, I can do this, I can do that, but I can't do this. But the only thing you guys, and Labour, the only thing you've ever come to me with in terms of like, oh no, we can swing Mark, we'll offer him a job. It's like, I don't want a job, I want stuff for my ward.
Point of clarification, Madam Mayor.
This was not directed at a personal explanation, so you can sit down.
How dare... Madam Mayor, I will only sit down if you ask me to.
Councillor Kenyon, would you apologise for that?
My apologies, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you. I'll take it in writing as he did to the leader as well, please, Madam Mayor.
Wish to speak? Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, mine was a point of order. No, point of order. It was something that Lewis said that I'd said. At no stage have I said that they were not up to the job.
I think that is a point of personal explanation.
All right, point of personal explanation then. So at no stage have I said that you're not up to the job, and by default residents. So I'd just like to get that one on the record. I do owe you an apology for my simile, which I'll send you later on. But that is not right what I said, and I don't want members of the public thinking that I've said something which I definitely haven't.
Thank you. Councillor Eyre, did you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Over the past 50 years, Labour have been basically in charge of this council, and it's been a mixture of them and the Liberal Democrats. I'll just talk about my patch, which is Shaw and Crompton. Whilst the overall running of Oldham has been Labour, the Liberal Democrats have been running Shaw. And since they took over sort of 4 decades ago, we lost our town hall, our job centre, we lost our market, we lost our police station, we lost our recycling, and we've lost our swimming pool. Our roads and footpaths in Shaw town centre itself have never been done for 39 years. That's one of the reasons I wanted to stand again. My father was the chairman of the Urban District Council, and he would be appalled now at the state of Sean Crompton. And that's why I came back into it. There's that many holes on some of our streets. Some of the residents are thinking of opening a golf club. It's that bad. So I think when the Liberals start talking and start saying how good you are, you haven't really. You've just let this town drop down. The same with Labour. They have not done a great job. The money's been sucked out of the surrounding areas, and it's been piled into Oldham. So I do believe the people asked for a change at the last election, and I believe now it is time for that change, and it's time for this chamber to stop doing self-interest and to give us the chance. We have a talented team, and we will do good work for this town. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Shaw, we wish to speak?
Yeah, just briefly, just in response to Councillor, firstly, congratulations, I think that's your maiden speech because it's the first time you've spoken in the chamber, but just a point of clarification and personal explanation. I don't want to give my age away, Madam Mayor, because ladies often choose not to, but can I just say I've been leader for the last 3 years. I'm not 70 or 90, so I can only speak to my record for the last 3 years as leader of the Labour group, not for the last 50. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We are a group of Labour councillors here who obviously have internal discussions before making up our mind. And I'm really keen to learn. Councillor Kenyon kindly listed number of points. They're very close to all of us, to our hearts. I'm sure you noticed that he mentioned hospital car parking, which I've been banging the drum for, and I'm still waiting for update on resolution we passed. That's a separate story. But what I would like to ask on the record, the offer he gave to Councillor Quigg, did he give similar offer to Councillor Rusha? Because if we had similar offer, I'm sure we would have debated.
Madam Mayor, would you like me to clarify? I can say that the wish list that just came from Councillor Kenyon was never offered to me. The question of whether it was offered to Councillor Quigg is for him to answer.
Thank you. Right. Speak.
I do apologise, Madam Mayor. There's a point of personal explanation. The so-called wish list was circulated by officers to all group leaders, including Councillor Shah and I think Councillor Taylor as well.
Thank you, Councillor Kent. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So obviously, just to clarify again, and I know that some people get frustrated at this kind of debate, but I do think it's really important that we discuss facts and that obviously for public and our residents that are watching this, they are very clear about what has taken place. So a document was sent to us initially by the Liberal Democrat group. When we then had a subsequent conversation, we asked some very pertinent questions, particularly around finance. We was given assurances that the model that you put forward had been fully costed by officers. We asked for that in writing and we never received it. After not receiving it, we was then told that they were not clear that it had been agreed by officers. And I do believe that our finance team would not have given a half-hearted answer about whether that was the case or not. What we do is we take facts to our group, and actually that document was not forthcoming, and then there was some verbal conversations. But I do think if we are going to talk about things in this chamber, we should be open, we should be honest, and we should be very clear, and then we don't have to keep getting up to have these points of personal clarification. People don't have to stand up again to clarify what they said and what they meant in the first place, because people will be clear and understand what is being discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Right. Councillor Quigg, do you wish to reply?
Oh, why not, Madam Mayor? Isn't it fun tonight? We've all woken up when it comes to reform. It's just a bit too late for some. I'll answer your point, Councillor Kenyon. In a similar vein in the answer to Councillor Taylor, I did ask officers to cost and flesh out some of your proposals, but what was found was that there was more questions than answers. If you're going to put a list of policy proposals forward, then at least have the decency to contact officers, give us some figures, give us a deliverability, a viability, and we consider them. Many in my group work in a business environment who would expect at the very least to see a pounds and pence and a time frame as to how you'd expect us to deliver it. I'm not going to sit there and say, I agree with everything you say, and no doubt you're going to say that to us. But in practical terms, some of your proposals that you're asking for are not even in the permit of the council. It's national government. We've had the Harry Potter-esque letter writing for many years at this council, where a letter goes to government, comes back, and we just note the reply. That's not achieving anything. But we can, if you work with us, deliver where we can on what you might have put forward. But the reality is that we can't because you won't. We are putting forward an administration. We are saying we want to fix the basics. We are coming in with a mandate from the electorate. We said no coalitions, no backroom deals. It's there. I'm on television saying it. It's in writing. I am not going to go back on my word and break that oath with the electorate because it suits this council and a set of councillors. The people put their votes in the ballot box and entrusted us to deliver it. I intend to deliver that. And that's what the rest of my group intend to deliver. But if we're going to go the merry-go-round, let's be frank, we haven't had these 3 months in isolation. We have had talks. We have listened to groups. Groups have come to us to put their proposals to us. But interestingly, none of you have invited me or anybody else to come to you. We have. Our door's been open. Your door's been firmly shut. So don't act Mother Teresa and say to us, we are the bad guys, you are the good guys, because you've come up with many proposals here tonight. That counts for nothing, given the fact we are here now 3 months down the line without a leader, and we'll probably end up without a leader tonight. That isn't a mistake. That's just the fact that is, nobody's prepared to move. Nobody's prepared to change their mind. But in particular, smaller groups need to make their mind up. Do they support a Labour administration or do they support a Reform administration? In any other council, the choice is between the largest or the second largest. Because it's about stability. There is no guarantee that an alliance coalition would be stable for even a week, let alone 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Because we are going to hit the budget. And when it comes to the budget, this Section 5 report pales into insignificance. Because if we cannot pass a budget, then we really are in trouble. And that's not something I don't think anybody has considered in here tonight, that tonight is the end of the beginning. Next March is the beginning of the end. Because that's what's coming down the track, the budget. And if this council cannot pass a budget, because we cannot tonight form an administration, then this borough is truly in trouble. And we offer the option tonight, as we have said clearly, committee chairs, have them. Not bothered, have them. You fill your role as opposition and act as that accountable scrutiny element. We have already got on the statute book, or we still are waiting for a scrutiny committee to talk about changes to the Constitution, Councillor Alan Downey, because you moved to send it to committee when we asked to change the way we elect a mayor. But that's forgotten about because it's convenient. It's convenient because it's easy to go online, as Councillor Bishop has, continuously since May, to call my group racist, misogynist, and all the other words under the sun. Just like a leader. Because it's too easy, Councillor Bishop, to go online and have a go at us when you haven't got the gumption in this council chamber to say a word to us. or say a word about what you would want us to do as an administration. You leave it to Councillor Kenyon.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. I feel this is coming into the realms of a personal attack.
It very much is, yes. I am happy to respond to it, though.
Well, I don't need to. I'd like to
I'm
conclude.
sure
if I
you
could,
don't
Madam
want to,
Mayor.
but having just targeted me in that way...
Well, you've got a right to a personal explanation if you wish to at the end of my
I'm
speech.
just about to request. Thank you very much, Councillor Quigg.
Well, I'm sure you are.
Right, point of personal explanation.
Councillor Quigg.
Can I conclude, Madam Mayor, or
Well,
then you can take the point of personal explanation?
Can you sit down now? And then...
I'm more than happy to.
Thank you. Right. Can I have a point of personal...
Certainly can. Would like to stand. Yeah, I think Councillor Quigg has just perfectly demonstrated why I think he's completely unfit for leadership role.
No,
probably for...
this is about personal explanation.
Well, it is a point of personal, because I've just had a quite aggressive attack launched at me. I'm
debating at the moment.
So the accusation that's just been is that I have discussed matters online, which clearly I have. I'm not aware I've been abusive towards anybody or aggressive as you have just towards me. The fact that I think your party is racist or a misogynist is an opinion, and it's an opinion I'm entitled to.
Can you just sit down now? Thank you.
Most kind, Madam Mayor. I think you've perfectly demonstrated my point. There is the true face of the Liberal Democrats. Say one thing in public, a different thing in private. Now we've got the true answer that we also wanted. They won't support us because they're snobs. Yes. They can't bring themselves to vote for the People's Party. Well, there you go. We've had it. Let's have the vote now. Let's see the colour of your money. Let's be having you, because the people of the Bisborough will soon be in May. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Quigg. We will now take a vote on Amendment 2. An electronic vote, sorry. Right.
So that's closing next.
The time is now closed for voting and the amendment is lost. We move on to Amendment 3. We'll now deal with Amendment 3. Could I invite Councillor Robert Barnes to move and Councillor Gary Tarbuck to second Amendment 3?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Fellow councillors, members of the public in the gallery tonight and people watching online, it is a privilege to be able to stand in this chamber once again. It shouldn't matter what job we have, we're all elected here. I worked in local government for 35 years. We have a GP here, we have a bus driver, it's irrelevant. We're all elected. We're all good enough to be in this chamber because people voted for us. This is a critical juncture for our town. Now, we know Labour walked away. I know they want to have another go. But my focus isn't on the Labour Party tonight. I want to focus on something else. The clear and present danger in our midst. Madam Mayor, I am, of course, referring to the 3 submarine parties. They've gone undetected for the past few months. But tonight, I will detonate a depth charge on their vaulting ambitions. I am, of course, talking about the catastrophic coalition, the lottery losers, the unelected alliance. The people did not vote for a power-sharing arrangement, Councillor Gafford. 13 out of 20 wards voted for reform. We won the election in May. The Liberal Democrats say they won't work with reform because they think we're racist. Yet they are happy to snuggle up in bed with the Gaza independents. The irony of their position is clearly lost on them. The Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives have got into bed with the Oldham group. And we all know the Oldham group was formed because 3 former Conservative councillors for Hollingwood went on a pro-Palestine march on Armistice Day 2023. They were either expelled or they quit before they were expelled. The only thing that matters to the Oldham group is Gaza. The people didn't vote for Gaza. Madam Mayor, let me be clear. There is no genocide in Gaza. Gaza was free until Gaza was free until 2005.
Councillor Barnes, just sit down for a moment, please.
Genocide.
Would you sit down, please, for a moment? Not discussing. No, Councillor Cater, please. I want some order now. And I don't want you to be bringing up anything which isn't relevant.
This is relevant, Madam Mayor. It's
fundamentally
it's not.
Relevant. I vote that it is.
It is relevant.
No.
It is
relevant.
It is relevant because 6 times in this chamber they voted on Gaza. It is fundamentally relevant, and they're not going to get away with it tonight.
I'm not going to allow it.
That's fine if you've ruled it out. Then I will continue with missing that out. Okay?
Leave the chamber for a few moments.
No.
Just to.
I'm fine. I'll admit what I've got to say.
Madam Mayor, just a point of order and clarification on that. He is offered to move on from the point and continue with the remainder of his speech. I'm satisfied, given that he has inexplicably been attacked by the group to his right without any other than personal opinion, which he's entitled to voice, by the way, then I don't see how he can be ruled out of order. He's asked to move on. I think we should allow him to finish his speech. Thank you.
It does need to relate to the motion, which I believe what you are saying before I ask you to sit down, is not related to the motion. Please do not be personal about any other elected member.
Madam Mayor, point of order again on that. I'm sorry, but Councillor Barnes hasn't named an individual. He has not named an individual.
Yes, sorry, Councillor Quigg. He indicated very
Madam Mayor,
clearly who those people were.
An indication under law is not the same as naming somebody. I have to raise that point, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Councillor Quigg. Please do not speak across the chamber again. I may ask you to leave as well. So, Councillor Barnes, please do not make anything which personally identifies other people in the manner which you have done.
Fine, I'm okay with that. Thank you. The point's been made anyway, but the problem we've got is we've got 3 parties wanting to stand together. They don't have the numbers. How can a party of 3, a party of 6 and a party of 10 try and form an administration? The people didn't vote for that. And the problem we've got is they don't want reform. They don't like reform. They think we're racist. Well, in fact, by saying that, they're calling the people of the town racist because the people voted for reform. And the problem with alliances is that you end up with an agreement, a code, and you boil it down into an alliance, outdated, irrelevant to what this town voted for. And you end up with the grotesque chaos of a no overall control council, a no overall control council fighting over which of you wants to be leader. I'll tell you now, you can't play politics with people's lives, people's services and people's jobs. There's only one solution. Let the people decide. Let all 60 of us go before the people and let them be the final arbiter. Madam Mayor, I beg to move.
Madam Mayor, please.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor. Councillor Woodvine, Madam Mayor. Please, can I have a point of explanation, please, Madam Mayor, to respond? Well, as the old adage goes, those in glass houses should not throw stones, Madam Mayor. But the Councillor Barnes referenced the Conservative group several times in that, and as the Conservative group leader, I do feel obliged to
Councillor
respond.
Woodvine, could I ask you, till I've had silence, it's not particularly relevant. I know you think it is, but it isn't quite relevant to this.
Well, I would like to correct the record, Madam Mayor, because he did lie about the Conservative group.
Well, we can speak about that. Starbuck, will you speak?
I move to second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tarr.
Please, can I speak, Madam Mayor, to correct the record?
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In principle, have no issue with an all-out election. I have to go to the ballots in May. I will be facing the electorate. The problem is, this doesn't resolve anything in the short term. This is pushing the buck for another however many months. It doesn't resolve the stalemate we're in. It doesn't resolve the deadlock. I don't really see the point. We can all go in May, but what we need is decision now. We need an outcome now, and we need all of the councillors to put that first, not May 2027. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hoban, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam. Just to say a few things about how we're progressing tonight, and especially with this amendment now. We seem to be falling into the trap that a lot of people spoke we didn't want to fall into at the beginning of the evening. It's getting personal, it's getting nasty, and we're not getting anywhere. As a point of recollection on Councillor Barnes' speech, as I say, I'm an independent, and I'm sat here watching as an independent, and he said about the numbers of this alliance not being big enough to govern. But my mathematics said that the alliance had more numbers than the reform. So how you can say somebody with more numbers can't run an administration, but you can? And the other thing about it is he was having a go at other members for playing party politics, and that's all he stood up and said. It was all about other people. It was all about the past. If we hear something good for the future, we may lean towards reform. But all we're hearing is nastiness, everything about the past, having a go at other members. Show us what you're made of, put it on the table, and then let us vote. You're offering nothing at all for us to vote on.
Hoban. Councillor Taylor, right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So you will be pleased to hear that I am going to speak to the amendment. But firstly, I think it is really important to make the point that an all-out election doesn't guarantee a single-party majority. And if we take what happened at the last round of local elections in England in May, exactly 1/3 of those all-out elections ended in no overall control. So out of 63 councils, 21 didn't have any overall control. Now, the difference between those councils and us is exactly the reason why we're here this evening, because they were able to agree to either supporting a minority administration or to come together to support a coalition arrangement. Now, as the amendment acknowledges, moving to an all-out election is not simply a decision that can be implemented locally. It requires change to the statutory framework, parliamentary legislation and electoral arrangements. And there is no guarantee that this could be achieved in time for May 2027 because the change to primary legislation, which would be required, needs parliamentary time and implementation time. That is not a quick fix. And given the significant challenges in getting this over the line, we believe that it is unwise to base Oldham's immediate governance arrangements on a timetable that is certainly not guaranteed. But more importantly, moving to all-outs in May 2027 does not solve Oldham's immediate problem. And whatever the merits of this proposal, it does nothing to address the fact, as Councillor Sharp quite rightly said, that we currently do not have a leader, and under this approach we would still not have one until May 27, and again, if at all, depending on the result of that election. And that is ultimately what this meeting is about here tonight. The immediate and pressing question facing this chamber and all of the councillors in this chamber this evening is how Oldham is governed in the here and now, and how do we ensure the council has effective political leadership and accountability. And changing the voting mechanism at the next election cannot be used as an answer to a governance problem that exists today. So we cannot keep kicking the governance problem down the road, and especially looking for a reform, pardon the pun, that is not guaranteed. But if there is a case for considering all-outs, then what we would say is that that can be debated separately and on its merits, but we believe it should not be used at tonight's meeting to justify leaving Oldham without a leader for potentially the rest of the municipal year. We cannot ask the people of Oldham to wait until May 27 for the leadership that this council needs today, and for that reason we will not be supporting this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor, do you... Well, one of you.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not going to allow the Oldham Group to be personally attacked or our members and their motives to be misrepresented in this chamber. Councillor Barnes, doesn't matter, Councillor Quigg. No, it doesn't. Councillor Barnes is entitled to his views, but he should not reduce our group to a single issue or tell this chamber what our motives are. We represent residents across Oldham on a wide range of issues, and you should know that. We will therefore not support this amendment. The people of Oldham will ultimately have their say next May, and we will not be supporting this amendment. Tonight, our responsibility to this council and to the people we represent, it's not about political point scoring, which is what you are doing, Councillor Barnes. And finally, it is a genocide, and still is a genocide, and we will carry on speaking about issues which matter to our voters.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
With Gaza and against the genocidal Israeli state. Do what you want.
Can we... Thank you. Thank you.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. You didn't allow me to speak on it. You allowed Councillor Ford to speak on it, on what I said. It's not reasonable. She stopped me. She didn't stop Cameron.
It's now concluded.
Oldham Down.
Move to close.
Wishes to speak. On closing the motion. Please.
Closing the motion down. Vote to close.
Yeah. This is a vote to close the motion, and then we move on to the next amendment. Vote now.
Can I have a point of order, please, Madam Mayor? Madam Mayor, point of order. We've had an indication that this is to close the debate, and also that this is to vote in favour or against the motion. Can we have absolute clarity, please, on that, just to be clear? I understand it, I thought, yeah, but you did just mention that it was to end the debate.
The motion, and then we'll move on to the vote on the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, can we move on to the vote on the amendment? Motion on the motion is carried, and we will now move on to the vote on Amendment 3. Shall I read what the amendment is? To remind you, it's page 5 in the supplement, and it is the Second Amendment of Reform, and it is restoring stable governance to Oldham Council. And then, if you've all read this, presumably, the Council notes that following the local election, that is Amendment 3, which we are going to vote on now electronically. Please. Voting is now closed and Amendment 3 is lost. And we'll move now on to Amendment 4. We'll now deal with Amendment 4. Could I invite Councillor Robert Jackson to move and Councillor Mark Ruthven to second Amendment 4? Councillor Jackson?
Yeah, I move, yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to read the motion out. I'm not going to elaborate too much, but it's a similar motion to the previous one. The Council notes that following the recent local elections, Oldham Council remains in a position of no overall control. Despite repeated attempts by political groups to establish a stable administration, no enduring administration has been formed. The continued political deadlock risks delaying important decisions, creating uncertainty for residents, council staff and partner organisations, and undermining the effective governance of the borough. The Council believes that the people of Oldham should be given an opportunity to resolve the current political impasse through the democratic process. A renewed mandate for electoral represents the fairest and most transparent and democratic means of securing a stable administration capable of providing effective leadership for the borough. Holding elections next year for all 60 seats across all 20 wards in May 27 would provide all the voters with a clear opportunity to determine the future political composition of the council and help establish a stable administration with renewed democratic mandate. Council therefore resolves to exercise its powers under the Local Government and Public Involvement in Health Act 2007 to undertake the required public consultation on changing the electoral system in Oldham to move to a whole council election starting 2027 and every 4 years after. What I'd like to add as well, I may be a new councillor, but it seems like a lot of us bicker between ourselves, which just doesn't seem to get anyone anywhere at all. If we can't get a majority at any point, which it seems like we can't, we've got an Oldham group that seems to not agree with a Labour group, a Reform group that seems to not agree with a Lib Dem group. This is the only option. Next year, we're probably going to be in a similar position if we don't do an all-out. We might get a few more from Reform, we might get a few more from Oldham Group, but we're still going to be in the same position. So if you want to be the next year having the same problem, which we look like we're going to have, then we continue the way we do. But if we want to be in a position next year where we don't have the same problem, this is one of the solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Ruthven, would you like to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to second that.
Does any member wish to speak? Oh, Councillor Quick, did you indicate?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'm just going to wrap up a little bit of this, given it sort of wraps in from the last motion into this amendment into this one. Turkeys don't like voting for Christmas. I can certainly smell the roast gravy dripping off some members in this council chamber tonight, because chickens, you certainly are. Turkeys, you certainly are not. What we are proposing is legally permissible under, as Councillor Jackson said tonight, the Health Act 2007. Now, it's up to you. We've given you the option to write to the Minister to try and break a deadlock in the previous amendment. We're now looking, through local mechanism, to change it so we have an all-out once every 4 years. This is option B. You've rejected option A, now giving you option B. But what I'm hearing, or sensing, shall we say, is that you just don't want anything. You're stuck in the short term. As Councillor Jackson alluded to, we might well be here in this same situation next year. And in terms of what Councillor Taylor did say in the previous debate, along parliamentary time, changing the law. Well, you changed the voting system at rapid pace for the Greater Manchester mayoral election for Mayor Craig. You got an MP to resign for Prime Minister Burnham. It seems to be when it suits with the Labour Party. Democracy suits when it suits them. It just doesn't suit the public. We are offering a credible solution that will be ready for May, which will call everybody in this council chamber to account. And the people of Oldham will decide once and for all whether they want a majority party, a one party to run the council, or not. And that's up to the people. What you seem to be scared of is the voters. And that's telling. Because when people go to the voters, they make the final call. You can talk about previous elections. You can talk about what's happened in the past. But we're talking about fixing this council ready for May next year, fixing the future. This will save money. This will put the people first. This is oven ready, ready to go, ready to deliver. If you vote this down tonight, you are telling the people of Oldham that they aren't worthy of this responsibility. They aren't worthy of having the chance to vote because you think you account more than they do. You think you are better than they are. You think you should come first and the people of Oldham second. That's what this is about. Put your money where your mouth is. Stand up and be counted. Put up in May or shut up moaning about a Section 5 when you've had the chance now on the second attempt, which I hope to give the people of this borough the final call. Vox Populi, Vox Dei. That it should be go back to the people and give them the final call. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Quigg. Councillor Taylor, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I can see where you're coming from because I understand that your leader was quite keen to face off a bin in an election quite recently. So
He won it.
He did, and you know, I have to say, it was not. No, I mean, we just won't take part in performative. I think we know better than that. But I think the reality of it is, we covered this in the previous point, which is it just doesn't deal with the matter in hand tonight. We have been very clear. If you want to bring that and debate that as a motion at a full council meeting, then you should. But it does not deal with the matter in hand tonight. The matter in hand tonight is about how we are compliant as a local authority in the here and now, not looking what we do in 6 months' time. And that is what this amendment is putting forward. And what we are doing is we are trying to take a sensible and a common sense approach to this. So we're not supporting this position. And what we said, and what I've been very clear about, is if you want to bring that forward for debate, then absolutely bring it forward for debate. But in the here tonight, that is not going to solve anything. The one point, I suppose, that I would just pick up on was the point that was made around political fragmentation, because I do think that was a very good point that you made, and I think we've seen it play out here tonight in the chamber 100%. But what I would say in relation to that is that all-out elections don't deal with that either. And we do see plenty of examples where we have councils that are in no overall control and they do form coalitions, and those coalitions do not last for that 4-year period. There is a breakdown within that. So all I would say is we can oversimplify in this chamber what is appears to be a straightforward answer to a complex question. I don't believe it is. I don't believe this is the debate we should be having tonight. Thank you for bringing it forward, and if you want to bring it back to a full council, I do think that's the appropriate place to debate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Hoban, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Elaine's just kind of stole my thunder, because that's what I was going to say. There seems to be nothing in this amendment that's relevant to voting for a leader. It's about something 9 months away that still even if we had an all-out, it may not resolve this. We could end up with exactly the same numbers in exactly the same position. So instead of rehashing the arguments for the last amendment, can we move to a vote?
Can I take a vote on moving? All in favour?
Oh, we're doing it.
Oh, we're doing it electronically now. It's right. That is carried to move to the vote, but Councillor Jackson, do you still have your right to reply?
No comment.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We'll now take a vote on Amendment 4. Electronically, please. Right, the voting is now closed and the amendment is lost. We now move on to Amendment 5. Could I invite Councillor Mark Kenyon to move and Councillor Sam Oldham to second Amendment 5?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's been a lot of chat tonight about, if we take out the histrionics, there's been quite a lot of chat about people wanting partnership and collaboration and working together. I'd say that the way that this council runs in terms of the strong leader model, it makes that kind of difficult when there's no trust, and sadly there is little trust in this chamber. Our proposal basically takes away that issue of trust, and it offers a way for groups to work together, which is backed up by procedure. Basically, we're trying to bring in a committee system by the back door, and for that reason, I propose Councillor Diane Williamson as leader of the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Al-Hamdani, wish to speak?
Thank you, and I'd like to second the proposal. For anyone outside the chamber, this is a very complex set of information, but the reason why it is so complex, it was an attempt to be realistic about the difficulties that are facing the council in trying to come to some sort of arrangement. We are stuck, and as Councillor Taylor, I'm sure, has some appreciation at least for this. He talked about the problems of a strong leader model. We are stuck with that for the time being. And we talked a lot about the impasse that we're in various different ways. This is it's a sledgehammer to crack a nut. But at the moment, we've got no way of getting the nut open. So let's vote for the sledgehammer. Thank you.
Does any member wish to speak?
Yes, Madam Mayor. The possibility of doing it would require some sort of vote to suspend the Constitution and the strong leader model in order to get to vote for a committee structure which would otherwise be illegal.
I will ask you to, Alex, if you'll clarify, please.
If it assists members, so this amendment is asking for the committees to be advisory only. So it is fully compliant with the Local Government Act. There's still a strong leader cabinet, but the Concord committees are there to advise the leader and the cabinet members, if that assists.
Thank you. Councillor Hoban, did you wish to speak again?
Yes, I'm sorry if I keep getting up and down, Madam Mayor, but thank you. There's something that I can't find in this piece of paper now, but struck me, and I think somebody else has mentioned it, so I'd ask for clarity off Sam, possibly. There's something like a lottery or a raffle to pick members of the administration. Is that? I've heard it, and I'm sure I've seen it, but I couldn't understand it. So could you explain that for me, Sam, please?
Thank you. Councillor Kenyon will explain it better. At the end, yes. Does any other member wish to speak? No, right. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will try and be brief. But I think there are a couple of points in relation to this. So, firstly, Councillor Harkness, I think you raised the question earlier, and I think it was a legitimate one about how we have been interacting, about the proposals we've put forward, and for you to have a clear understanding about what is on offer. And I think, following on from that, and I think Sam's actually made the point about this is a very elaborate proposal. And I appreciate that you brought it forward in the absence of us being able to agree. But I think the issue here is, and I think the conversations that we have had, some behind closed doors, some in group leaders meetings, a lot of it, again, is coming down to personality. And what people have been talking about is this idea that we can somehow have a leader who is apolitical, who is in some way palatable to the whole chamber. And I think this model is predicated partly on that. And I have to say, the idea that people in your group are more palatable than people in other groups is in itself, I think, an issue for people across this chamber. And I think the contribution that Councillor Williamson made earlier on, I think quite sums up why there is nobody in this chamber who is going to be deemed as neutral in that way. We do have some real concerns about this, and they are legitimate concerns. And while we appreciate we have got a very big hurdle that we need to get over, we also have to think about the reputation of this council moving forward. We will not be in this position forever. And I think, actually, there's a lot of work that will go into this, a lot of officer time to pull this together. Trying to find a new model that is only going to be operational for less than 6 months up until the next election. I think it will be really difficult for external partners to understand how we work in. I think it will actually create more instability, and I think it will raise more questions than answers. I think that was a point that was raised earlier. So we do have some very legitimate concerns, and I think the bottom line with this is, and I think you've covered this, and I think, to be fair to you, you have said this, that we're getting into the position now where we're trying to find workarounds that are not really workarounds. We are trying to squeeze a committee system into a strong leader model. And whether people agree with that model, whether people think that is the correct model or not, that is the model that we have to follow. That is the model that, to be legally compliant, we have to adhere to. And it is very clear from the English Devolution Act what our roles and responsibilities are. And so I think, again, I come back to the point, this is an extremely elaborate paper, and I know that you've actually spent a lot of time on this, and I know that we met for quite a long time to have that conversation, and you've condensed this paper from what was 9 pages down to 3 pages, 11 pages, apologies, down to 3 pages, and having taken advice, and I know we raised some legitimate concerns about the legality of the document, and I think having taken more advice, you've obviously amended that and made it so that the committees would only be advisory. But I do bring it back to the nub, I think, of this discussion, which is about we cannot negate responsibility in this chamber. We have a collective responsibility. And I think we are getting into the realms of fantasy, where we are looking at documents that are so complicated, so complex, so difficult to work. And it is all about absolving responsibility because we are not choosing a leader in this chamber. 21 other councils that were in no overall control have managed to find and navigate a way through this. And I believe that the responsible thing to do, and the thing that we should be doing, and even if we get to the end of this meeting without a decision, is that that's the position that we take. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Right. Do you wish to reply?
Please, Madam Mayor. Thank you, colleagues, for your contributions. I'll take them in reverse order, if that's okay. Councillor Elaine Taylor, you mentioned about the complexity. There's nothing complex about us all sharing in the decision-making process. That surely is one of the fairest. There's nothing complicated or difficult to get your heads around that. Rather than one person or a small committee making a decision, we all share in that responsibility. I think that would be good for the chamber. I think that would be good for councillors, and I think it would be good for the borough. It is a short-term fix. It is a massive hammer to crack a nut. I do accept that. And is it a great way to have a fast-moving, quick decision-making council that reassures partners? Probably not. But is it better than actually having the commissioners come in and having no leader at all? I maintain that it probably is. In terms of the leader, I mean, you're right in what you say. It's difficult to pick someone who is apolitical. We kicked a few names around. We're open, and I'm sure Diane will absolutely not be gutted if we suggest another member to fill that role of, let's call it a weak leader. And if you can think of one that will get it over the line, very happy to consider that. Councillor Hoban, you mentioned the lottery. Sadly, that was probably not the best choice of words, but it does boil down to the same thing, which, despite advice from Alex, my whole pitch, I guess, is based on the notion that there's the law, there's Alex's advice, and there's what's written down. But there's a greater promise that we can make to the electorate, which is that despite what the law says, which we will obviously obey, we're saying that the leader and the cabinet will, unless absolutely necessary, will take advice and recommendations from committees. And in that way, cabinet positions become a little bit, we're not actually picking someone to make the decisions, we're just picking someone to fill the chair. Councillor Paul Taylor, you made a very strong case for this actual motion in your speech supporting another motion. Yes, it still would tick the box for a strong leader model, but we're asking whoever takes on the mantle of leadership to make a promise to the borough, to stand in front of the mayor and say, look, I promise not to behave like a strong leader. And of course, they could break that promise, and then they will be judged by the electorate. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kenyon. We now take a vote on Amendment 3. Electronic, please. Oh, Amendment 5, sorry. I better put the glasses back on again, the borrowed glasses. The voting is closed and the amendment number 5 is lost. We move on to Amendment 6. Right, could I invite Councillor Cameron Gafour to move and Councillor Sam Al-Haldami to second Amendment 6?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was going to speak on this amendment at quite length, but I've decided against it because I think that I'll be wasting my own time and I'll be wasting the council's time as well. And I would like to propose it, of course, but after the events of tonight, I don't even think I could work with a reform, even in a rotational basis, to be quite honest with you, because that's not a party that I think that the Oldham group want to be associated with. Absolutely fine, no problem. But you didn't say that, did you? So what we're saying now, right now, is that I will propose it, and I ask the people of the Labour group to think about this, and think about this clearly. We've got a few months left, and all I ask is that for the people of Oldham, and this is what I was going to say in my speech, but to put it down is, for the people of Oldham, I think this is very much needed, and reform won't take any part of it anyway. And if you want any changes to this, I'm quite open to it. So I'd just like to propose it as it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Al-Hamdani, will you second this?
Thank you. I would like to second it. You've left me a difficult course to chart after that. However, coming back to the start of the evening when I talked about the difficulties facing all the groups and having to do something different, this is something different. It is not something. It doesn't particularly work for me. It doesn't particularly work for anyone. Like, if tonight has not shown you anything, it should be that anything else. It should be that, like, just insisting it's us or nothing doesn't work. This is not an us or nothing option. This is one that just says, it actually tries to say everybody in the chamber should be respected, and we should, even if we can't agree on things, find a way to work together. And I think, despite what Cameron's just said, that was the intent of what's here. And we are trying to find ways, even where we grandly disagree, to work in a constructive way. This is the only option left on the table at the moment. And it actually does make sense. I do wish that people would support it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Al-Hamdani. Does any member wish to speak? Councillor Hoban?
Okay, no, I'm speaking in tonight, so I don't have to next time. Just a small bit of clarification on the amendment here. The rotation of office for leader, and this doesn't affect me, by the way, but it starts with the smallest political group. I thought the Right and Independents were a political group. Would they not start on this merry-go-round first? That was the clarity I needed, that's all.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Elaine Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will keep it brief, but I think firstly the first point that I would make is we really shouldn't need an amendment to foster respect in this chamber, and I think if we do, then we are in a very sad place. But what I would say in relation to the amendment, it does, from our point of view, it doesn't offer stability. It feels like a pick and mix approach where everybody's going to get a go. We know from the conversations that we've had in group leaders that there is wide variance of opinion, and how we could move forward and keep changing our leader on a rotational basis. This is all predicated on convention, not on constitution. And I think we are going to get ourselves into very difficult waters very quickly. And the reality of it is, if people don't do what has been promised or what has been asked of them, or even what people in this chamber think should happen, then we're going to end up in a scenario where we've got to start bringing forward motions of no confidence in people. And how can anyone honestly say that is offering the stability? And it is actually giving our residents faith in us moving forward. I come back to the point that we mentioned earlier, and we've already voted on them amendments, so I know that this is the last amendment that we are now voting on. But the reality of it is, the more elaborate, the more that we try and find workarounds, it is apparent, and we have been clear in group leaders that this is not something that is going to garner the support of ourselves or reform. And yet we are going down a route where people keep So we've been accused tonight of keep bringing forward minority administrations that you don't want to work with. But by the same convention, you are trying to find routes in order to not have to vote for one of the two largest parties. That is convention. That is what has happened up and down the country at every single election. We are the first authority that has failed in that duty. Now, I appreciate that we have already voted on those amendments, but the reality of it is that we made an offer. The offer was there, it was clear, and it was open for discussion. Now, I don't know if that was shared with your groups. It absolutely should have been. Councillor Harness, I would have thought that you would have been updated on what we proposed. And obviously, I think this, again, we're getting into choppy waters. We're talking about convention. We're not talking about constitution. We're talking about having a rolling leadership model with a few months to go to the election. I think it would just create the impression of chaos. And while I think our residents legitimately feel let down by the situation we're in, what we don't want to do is essentially make that situation 10 times worse by going out to residents and saying to them, we've cobbled together some solution, because the reality of it is we can't find a real workable solution. It is not something that we think is going to work in practice. And again, it comes down to the idea that we cannot have a pick and mix approach. People in this chamber need to take collective responsibility and find a realistic, workable and reputational way of taking this council forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Sharp, do you wish to speak?
I do, Madam Mayor. I wasn't intending to, but given that this is like the meeting where the Section 5 notice has been issued, this is our last opportunity to be in this space. I am going to use a few moments, just very briefly, to reiterate the point that Councillor Taylor's made. Look, in all the discussions that we've had in the group leaders' meetings, we've had different variations of everything. I have been very clear, on behalf of the Labour group, that the Labour group cannot work with reform. Reform will probably break out in hives if there was any sort of indication of them working with Labour. We accept that. We're millions of moons apart. That's what we are. The reality is, I also accept, and Councillor Gafford, like you said this in the group leaders meeting as well, and you were quite right, so I accept what your point that was made. You clearly stated, and the Lib Dems have done as well, which I respect as well, because when I rose to move my amendment, I made it really clear that we're not listening to the electorate. The last time that anyone in this chamber canvassed opinion was in May. May sent a strong message to every single group in this chamber. And if the argument is that people can't vote for Labour because people have decided that's not what they wanted, we can't deny the fact that the group that did gain seats, the only group that actually gained seats, apart from the one or the other, is Reform. And it pains me to say that. If we are in this impasse, and if people are genuinely wanting a solution to move forward, Councillor Harkness, you're right. Look, in a lot of ways, in a lot of discussions that we've had, I think we've all, as group leaders, agreed with somebody or each other at some point on some issue. We've done that, and we've done it really well. We've done it respectfully, and, we might not like the outcome of what somebody else says, and we've had instances in those discussions where somebody's put forward a solution, and the person who's proposing their option or their proposal doesn't like the answer, and people have got frustrated. But I think I can speak on behalf of the leaders of all political groups. Them meetings now are getting quite mentally exhausting. We're spending lots and lots of time. We're all entrenched in our position. So let's go back to a formula that works, that is based on fairness, not on political lines. And that formula is the outcome of the results in May. I lost the most seats. My group had everything to lose, and did lose actually at that election. We lost the leadership, we lost the cabinet positions, not for any other reason, but for the reason that we can now not continue with anything that we chose to do for this borough. People might not like each other's political views. We are all elected to represent the people and to make society a better place. How we get there might differ. It differs for Reform, it differs for the Oldham group, it differs for the Lib Dems, it differs for the Conservatives, it differs for all of us. But ultimately, we want to make our places a good place. The one thing I've heard consistently across this chamber from members of all groups is how they are passionate about the communities they represent, and I applaud that. That is right. That is what we are here to do. But we are also here now in this unique circumstances, uncharted territory actually, because we talk about commissioners, but the only time we've had commissioners in any place in this country is when there's been concerns around finances. We are not there, and we should thank our blessings we're not there. But the reality is the mandate sent us a message. That message was, Labour, you need to change your ways and you need to reflect. And we have, and we deeply reflect on that. The points the Lib Dems have consistently made around openness and transparency. I, as leader, stand here and say, I think to myself, and I've reflected, they should have had a chance to chair scrutiny meetings. Opposition members should be able to do that because that's effective opposition. But democracy has also told us that Reform have won 13 seats. 3 already elected to the chamber, but they have won 13 seats. So if you can't support Labour because your point is that Labour lost seats in the election, well, that's a valid one and it's factually correct. I might not like it, it might be uncomfortable, but then what is the problem with a group that has then won 13 seats? And it pains me because I don't like their politics, and I'm really not personal to anyone, but I don't like Reform's politics. I don't like it anywhere I see it across the country. But the reality is, it is what it is. So look, everybody else has a choice to make. They are not the solution. They can't provide elaborate variations every time it comes to this. Make a choice in the electorate, and let's do what Cameron Gafford, what everybody else has said, what Councillor Lewis Quicker said, and go back to the electorate in May and see what that brings up. But up until this point, this is where we are. This is the stalemate. The middle block has to move. They have two choices.
Thank you, Councillor Shah.
Thank you.
I think Councillor Barnes, did you wish to say something?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Thank you. It will be no surprise that we won't be supporting this tonight. I don't see how we have a model where it starts off with 2 members, one of whom becoming leader, and we have a rolling programme. It's like Councillors Shah and Taylor have said, it's a pick and mix, and it's unusual for me to agree with the Labour Party, but I think they're right. I think that we're going to have votes of no confidence. It isn't going to work, and it will, if anything, it will make it a lot worse than it currently is now. That's why we've proposed what we've proposed. I don't see how you can have 3 Conservatives, 2 right and independents, 6 Liberal Democrats, and whilst I have no personal animus towards Councillor Gafford, I just simply do not agree with his politics, and we could not work with the Oldham group and they couldn't work with us. Likewise, as Councillor Shah said, our policies are miles apart, and I'm pretty certain that our national parties would not allow us to work together because that is the position that we're in. So therefore, if we're going to end up in a position where I think tonight we'll still end up with nothing. And that isn't what the people voted for. But we are where we are. And I think we get this vote out of the way and we see where we go forward from here.
No other members to speak? Councillor Gafford, do you wish to reply?
Please, Madam Mayor, thank you. Thank you for all the comments and everything everyone has said. The reason why I brought this amendment to the council, because I genuinely thought that we were all adults and we could sit in the same room and we could make decisions for the people of Oldham without having any major issues between us, because we were only considering the next 6 to 8 months. And as Councillor Taylor says, that she doesn't think that we as a group of councillors can do that, which is unfortunate, because I genuinely believe that I can, and I believe my group can. We have been doing for the past, 3 months, we've been sitting in a room, we've been discussing, and we've been getting issues resolved. But we are adults, and, you know, we are here to represent the communities which we've been voted by. And this was an option where everybody would have had a say, because at the moment we're at an impasse, and everybody knows we're at an impasse. And the leader, Councillor Taylor, what you said was the leader is a leader in name. The actual main purpose of this arrangement was to create a functioning cabinet and take us out of this illegal situation that we're actually currently facing. And Councillor Shah, thank you for your comments that you two are the biggest parties. Absolutely. What I would recommend, and if it's permissible, I will like to drop the standing orders and ask for us to put reform forward, and for the Labour Party to vote for reform and then get them into power, because you're so hell-bent on getting them you know, to run this council. Get it done. It's not a problem for us. We'll let you two deal with whatever you need to deal with. So if that's what you want, we're definitely not going to be voting for reform. I don't know about my colleagues on the other side of the chamber, but we will definitely not be voting. But if you're so hell-bent on getting reform to run this council, then please go ahead and vote for that. Thank you very much.
Clarification.
Point of personal explanation for me.
Right. Yes, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I do think it's important to come back on these things because, honestly, we are really past the point of performative politics. Of course, we are not...
Point of order.
We are not... We did not suggest that we think reform should run this council. That is a point of clarification, that what Councillor Gafford said was that if we are keen...
There isn't a point of clarification in the Constitution. So, would you...
What point of personal explanation?
I think the point is, Madam Mayor, sorry, the point that I'm saying is that is said...
Can I ask Councillor Shaw to give that? Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Taylor.
So point of personal explanation, Madam Mayor, is why I'm standing here. Councillor Gafford has alluded to the fact that I'm hell-bent on getting reforming. That's not what I've said. It is really, really dangerous territory, actually, because there's no way on planet Earth that any member of my group would ever, and I was very clear, no personal disrespect to reform, but we do not agree with reform's politics. That's not what we've said, and I think that's dangerous territory. But this does shine light on some of the conversations that we've been having with group leaders. When people don't like the answer, they will misrepresent what's been said. That is dangerous territory. I was simply stating facts. Facts is, you're saying you don't like Labour because the lecturer said that we've lost seats. You're saying that reform won seats, so there's two choices.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. Sorry.
Al-Hamdani.
I feel we've moved from point of personal explanation into wider territory.
Yeah. We're going to take a vote on the Amendment 6 now. Electronically, please. The voting is closed and that amendment is lost. All amendments are lost. As the Council has failed again to elect a leader, this means that the monitoring officer will now write to the Secretary of State, as referred to earlier in the meeting. Thank you, members.
One of the members is indicated.
Is a point of order?
Can I just say something on this? No? We finish? All right.
Yes, we have. Thank you. This concludes the business for this evening.